Okay, so hey everybody. First of all, let me know if the sound is good. For those of you in the live chat, I just wanted to kind of update everybody on my health situation. And I'm just going to do like a little brief update here and just let everybody know that 24 hours ago, I would not have imagined that I would be able to do what I'm doing right now. About a month and a half ago, I started experiencing tinnitus, which is ringing in the ears, and it's in this right ear in particular. And it was really getting bad, and it got to the point that it seemed like it was going to keep me from even being able to talk, because even talking hurt my ears. And last night, I sorry, and let me know in the chat, can you hear me okay? Just make sure that the sound is fine. So yesterday I've been in touch. So a couple weeks ago, I attended a tinnitus support group. It'd be 2 weeks ago tomorrow that I attended my first tinnitus support group meeting. Okay, thank you, the Sandy Stone, saying the sound is fine. Thank you very much. And I was able to get connected with some people in the tinnitus community who suffer from it, and it was a support group. And basically, two of the people in the support group are ear doctors themselves, audiologists, ear doctors, and they suffer from tinnitus as well. And when I was telling my story to the group, they both took a real interest in my situation, because I have a very kind of unique, kind of a very difficult type of tinnitus that can be debilitating for people. But I was in bad shape. After I went to the tinnitus meeting, I was doing really good. I was really excited. I felt encouraged. And then it just continued to get worse and worse and worse. Well, I was supposed to get a procedure done this last Tuesday, but I was having too much anxiety, so we had to cancel it. And I have these other people, these two doctors that have basically stepped in, didn't know me from Adam, but because they understand what it's like to suffer from tinnitus, they stepped in and started interceding and helping. And this other doctor, who's not even my own doctor, my ENT, he said, "Why don't you come to my practice?" So yesterday at 5 o'clock in Sarasota, Florida, I go and I meet with this ear doctor. And his name's John, and he's a really cool guy. And we spent 2 hours in his office talking. And if you had told me an hour into that conversation that I'd be doing this tonight, I would have not believed you. But it's really remarkable, because he was able to explain to me that basically what was happening was I was avoiding noise, and noise just kept on getting worse and worse and worse. And it kept on. So every time I hear a noise, I hear an echo in this ear. So after a while, I was just whispering. Mom and I were just whispering. That's how bad it was. When the lawn care people would come here, I would have to leave the house and go to the library in the reading room, because I was so overwhelmed by the stimuli of this sound. So I have what's called, oh darn it, I don't have it written down, but it's like, I forget. It's a type of condition that's causing this, and it might at some point, I might even need to get a hearing aid for this condition. But he was able to explain to me that you can mentally block out the sound. And he says, what you're doing, Steve, is you're trying to get away from sound. And he said, that's what you need to do, is immerse yourself and get used to hearing sound and get your mind off the ringing that you're hearing and engage it. So I literally said, look, I miss hanging out with my friends. I'm a sociable guy. I hang out almost every night with my homies. I've been able to do that for a month and a half. And then so we're talking, and he goes and he says, well, there's a German restaurant down the street. Why don't you and I go? And at first I didn't think anything of it. About 10, 15 minutes of me thinking about it, I said, you know what? Let's do it. So literally going to this German restaurant. There's people, it's quiet. He says it's not super busy at night, so it wouldn't be too overwhelming. Sitting there, having a conversation, talking, I was just blown out of the water that I was able to function, and I was able to eat. I couldn't even eat crunchy food because it would bother me. Here I am eating a cucumber salad, and it's crunching away. I don't think anything of it. So it was a real turning point for me. Last night, less than 24 hours ago, 24 hours ago right now, is about when we headed to that German restaurant. Walked in that door, and I walked out thinking, oh my gosh, I can do this. Okay, so the Sandy Stone says, I also have a low-grade tinnitus. In meditation, I have to imagine a volume that tunes out that frequency. I can focus on it and make it louder right now. Yeah, so I'm learning these techniques, and he just kind of said, listen, just we're going to do, we played some white noise. So I just want to give everybody an update and tell you that I honestly thought, one, my life was essentially over, because a lot of people commit suicide from this condition. Okay. And somehow, some way, I just was able to turn the corner last night. And I really thought I was going to have to cancel my appearance at the Mormon History Association. It looks like I will be able to go. I will. I mean, he even told me, he says, we're going to make it a goal, Steve, for you to go on that plane and go to Mormon History Association conference, which is in Cleveland. By the way, it's June 13th through the 16th. I've already had the president of the association come on and discuss that. And I will be giving a panel. It will be a panel discussion with a bunch of different podcasters, and it's called basically podcasting Mormon history. So it's on, I think it's Friday morning, the 14th at 10:30 a.m. I don't want to list off everybody who's going to be there because I don't remember everybody's name. So I don't want to exclude anybody, but it's going to be me and I think 4 other podcasters who are going to talk about what it's like to be in the Mormon history podcast world, right? Which is really cool. There are some people who basically they just have podcasts about history. Of course, we know at Mormon Book Reviews, we cover restoration, culture, history, entertainment, scholarship, theology. We've broken some of the biggest news stories over the course of the last 2 or 3 years. We've broken many, many news stories. Of course, we all know in March when the sale of the Kirtland Temple went through. My channel was the first channel that had John Hayacek on, and this was before the press release was announced with the Community of Christ and the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints about this transaction selling the Kirtland Temple and the Nauvoo properties. The story was broke on this channel, as many of you know. So this is a channel that not only engages Mormon history, but it also helps make Mormon history on some level too. I'm reminded of when I did a lot of digging in that church in Manhattan that the church was going to be renting while the temple was being remodeled in Manhattan, and 3 wards met in the temple complex. And so because of the remodeling, they had to find a home, and they ended up going to a gay affirming, LGBTQ affirming church that has pride flags hanging from the doors. And if you were on Reddit in the last couple of days, you probably saw somebody posting on Reddit, here is my church that I'm attending, and it had the pride flags in front of it, and that was right there was an LDS ward, which is really remarkable. I mean, that's a story that nobody else was able to make the connections. Everybody talked about, oh, they're renting this, but nobody investigated the church and the pastor and the whole story about having an LGBTQ affirming church, feeling that they could have as neighbors, as roommates, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And it's a remarkable story, and it's not coincidental. I think the church is putting out feelers to see how people. I tell people, said, that wouldn't happen in Rexburg. You would not have LDS congregations meeting in Rexburg with LGBTQ flags. So I think it signals the church where it wants to go. Again, I'm not an advocate, nor am I like what do you call them? Not an advocate. I'm not somebody who's what's the word I'm trying to use? I'm not somebody who's like trying to push an agenda. I think we all know that what we try to do here at MBR is just tell the story and let the people come on and tell their story. And so what we try to do is not try to be activists. We just try to, at least, that's not the goal of this channel, is to get on a cause and tell people do this. It's like, no, but if somebody has a cause that they want to talk about, they can come on the channel. I think it's really important that we keep that safe space where people can have a place where they can come and have these conversations. Apologist would be another word. Yeah. And I'm not an apologist for anybody. I mean, I think I get more flack from evangelicals than anybody else. I'm not a big fan of apologetics, to be honest with you. Activist. Yeah, that's the Sandy Stone. That's the term I was trying to think of, was activist. And that's not what we are. We are a place where people can come and meet and talk. So just imagine how I was feeling just yesterday when I was seriously contemplating, one, not going to the Mormon History Association, two, pulling the plug on this channel for the foreseeable future because I didn't think I would be able to function. I mean, Mom and I, like I said, we're talking in whispers as of yesterday. And then today, I'm still talking on the low end. I'm not as loud as I was, but that's okay. I can do this. This is the key thing. And really, I think what's so important is I just want to thank everybody. I heard my phone dinged over the course of the last few weeks when I first started talking to people, telling them what I was going through. I had people direct message me on Messenger. I had people email me. I had people send me cards in the mail. I had people sending me advice, recommendations for different treatments, different supplements, some of which I have been taken. And I just want to thank everybody for their concern and how they reached out to me and expressed how much they want to appreciate the channel and appreciate me and how much they appreciate the good that the channel's done for them. And I almost feel like they were paying it forward, if you will, or paying it back to me in my time of need, which was really cool to have that kind of relationship with the audience. You know, also just want to say that if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to go into the chat here. This is live, so this is an opportunity for the viewers if they want to enter on repeat. It may not right away, but after a while, these questions will come up simultaneously while the video is being played, so you can follow along in the chat. So let me just get up here and see. Gayla Gray says, I'm so glad you're better and you can go on with the show, Steve. We love you. Sandy Stone, we appreciate it. Chris says, how do you sleep at night? Do you use white noise? Actually, I have an air machine, a HEPA air filter machine, and I just run that at medium speed. And that seems to do the trick pretty well for me. Now, I did download an app on my phone, which I'm going to get a Bluetooth and use, in which it helps with, let me just see if I can pull up the app here. I downloaded it yesterday. And it's my audiologist friend. And again, he spent 2 hours with me in the office. He didn't charge me. This is the kind of people that are in my life. I have another lady who's going to be doing a hearing test for me in a couple of weeks, who's another person who's taken her time to reach out and be my advocate. And these are strangers 2 weeks ago to me. So I just want to say that I'm privileged to be blessed to have such wonderful people that have been brought into my life. Okay, yeah, so it's like app patient. Oh, I think this is it, but I got to log into it. Oh no, this isn't it. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm looking for this app. I don't know why I don't see it on here because I uploaded it yesterday at the ear doctor's office. So I don't know what's going on here. Maybe it has to be, well, this is live, so sometimes things are going to not go perfect, but there should be an app. And I'll try to, if I find the app, I'll put a link into it in the description at some point as well. Okay, Sherry, so glad you have found relief as a convert member to the LDS Church. I enjoy your channel. I'm 67 and have ear noise too, but I don't notice it most of the time. Yeah, I notice it quite a bit, but I'm able to manage it. And again, it was controlling me. And yet last night I got empowered to realize that I can control it and not let it control me. And I can block it out. And that's a real blessing. Don't want to overstep in advice, but when I sleep, I use headphones called Shocks Open Run that don't put inside your ear. I use binary beats or some really low sound noise, and it helps me sleep. Yeah. Again, the air machine for me has been working, but I'm going to experiment and everything like that. Also, for those of you in the chat, if you're watching right now and you would like to make a contribution to the channel, you can in the chat, there's an option to make a donation to the channel. And if you'd like to get a shout out, this is the time. I'll give you a shout out, and we can, because people usually donate a few bucks. I've brought in over $100 a couple times doing this. I'm not doing this for the money. If you knew, guys, how much I was actually bringing in, I mean, I'd be making more flipping burgers at McDonald's. But this is the thing. I love this so much, and I really thought I was going to lose it all. And I thought I was going to lose my quality of life. And it was affecting me. Like my ear is ringing right now. But I realized that I don't have to let that bother me. And that I feel empowered yesterday. So it's kind of like a mind over matter thing. The human brain is one of the most complex machine, if you will, in the universe. And we have these tools that we can use. And sometimes we forget that. And sometimes people just want to be able to take a pill or all these other things. But so often the body itself is perfectly capable of healing itself, and also capable of being able to work around things things in your life. So some people can do pain management this way, and other things that there's a way that you can do it. Now, I don't want to say, listen, I was suffering for like a month and a half. I was basically bedridden for the last few weeks, folks. Okay. I was in bad shape. And as many of you know, if you watched my story on Mormon Stories with John DeLynn, I talk about how I had a very difficult life, and that I spent a lot of my life in deep, dark depression. I've told this story on Mormonism with the Murph and also Mormonish and other podcasts, so both faithful programs and other programs, just talking about how Mormonism saved my life. That was the final episode on Mormon Stories. So, and really, my study of Mormonism did help me during my dark times. So here, because I've spent a lot of my life suffering, um, it's a lot of my life spent suffering, it actually builds within you a resolve. And my Pastor Dan Miner of the Harvest Church in Sarasota, he went through hell. He almost lost the church. He almost lost being a pastor of the church. It was a pretty amazing story, what he told me. And he told me, he said, but what people don't understand is when you go through these trials and tribulations, that for him, in his case, it built within him an inner resolve that makes him almost unflappable. Like he can just take on any criticisms, any bullies, any nasty people out there that hate him. It doesn't get to him. And obviously there's a lot of people that don't like me, and it just doesn't get to me. But this is the other thing. Because I suffered so much, and I was able to actually claw my way out and of the midst of some of the worst depths of depression that one could encounter, I was starting to get affected by this mentally, as you might imagine. And I was worried, oh my gosh, am I going to go enter into that dark place again? But I think because I experienced what I did and realized that, I have the tools within me that life experience affords us. We don't even realize we have those tools until we need them. And so once the doctor helped empower me yesterday, I realized, okay, I just got to use the same tools. Now, of course, it's not all me either. It's also the importance of establishing a community. So I was still taking antidepressants up until a year ago. But after I established this MBR community, where I hear from people throughout the world and get words of encouragement from people. So now you have this community. See, none of us can be, when so often now people are getting more and more isolated. You can't be isolated from each other. And so I think it's really important that we recognize the importance of establishing a community, whether you have a faith community, which is really important. That's why the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints really is a fantastic organization if you're looking for a community. There's just no doubt. I'm just telling you from purely secular reasoning that for many people, the church is a good place for them. Now, for others who feel like they maybe don't have a good place in that church, maybe because they're LGBTQ, maybe for other reasons, they leave the church, and they also recognize the importance of establishing a community. So it's important that we realize that when we're facing things, we can't go at it alone. We need to be able to rely on our friends and our family and our churches and community, whatever we have, whether it's an online community or whatever, and that helps you. Now, for me personally, I think my faith also helps me. I'm not trying to go and convert anybody. We all know that. Look, I'm friends with I'm friends with a lot of atheists, okay? And no atheists think that I'm even trying to proselytize them. You find me one atheist out there that I've engaged who goes and says, Steve tried proselytizing me. I haven't even tried proselytizing atheists. I just try to be friends with everybody. It's not that difficult of a thing to do. Oh, first of all, I just want to say I got a donation from Steve for $100. Almost every time I go on live, he goes and donates on Venmo. Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate it. And by the way, there's links in the description. So if you want to donate to the channel via PayPal or Patreon or Venmo, there's also that option too. Again, not doing this as a fundraiser, but since I got an audience here. And it's nice that, I can turn on this camera and go live or do a short and be able to reach thousands of people. These live sessions, usually we get, 30, 40, 50, maybe people watching it live, maybe 100 sometimes. But then usually ends up getting viewed by thousands of people. So most of the people that actually watch these live feeds are actually watching them after I've done it. And I kind of just only gave like 2 hours warning. So for a lot of people, they didn't even realize I'm doing this. But a lot of people are watching. So I just want to remind people, if you are watching this on repeat, you can turn on the chat and follow along in the chat as well. Okay, let me read what else here. Sandy Stone, Mormon, non-Mormon, believing, non-believing, building healthy relationships with people is incredibly healing and powerful. I really appreciate your content for that. Thank you. Yeah, that's the key thing, This is a safe space. And this is a place, like even there was a pretty prominent atheist who went to me a couple of weeks ago. I was talking to him on the phone. And he goes to me, he's like, only you could have Jim Bennett and Jacob Hansen on at the same time. And it not be a disaster. Or that only I could be the one that could get both of them on. He said, I don't think there's anybody else that could have that conversation that you had with them. And I tend to agree, because of the way everything is so divvied up, and we have just all the, it's either you're an anti-Mormon podcast YouTuber or podcaster or you're pro. And it's like, and I just don't, I'm like, sometimes the faithful stuff just like, there's nothing wrong with the restoration. Everything's perfect. That's not realistic. And then there's this anti thing where everything's wrong. Everything's bad about the restoration. And really, that's not true too, because I talked to many ex-Mormons who think that, there were some good things that the church did for me. Even John Dehlin goes, and he's grateful for his serving his mission. He even says, like, my serving the mission really showed me how the world really operates. I got to learn how to operate in the real world via his mission. So here, even John Dehlin is grateful that he served the mission. Okay. So this is not, so what I'm trying to say is that it's not so obvious that, there are good people who are Latter-day Saints who will tell me off the record, yeah, we've got issues, right? And then there's Latter-day ex-Mormons who say, man, the ex-Mormon community is kind of messed up right now. There's a lot of people going through a lot of stuff. And so I just try to look at people from that position. I remember going and telling Greg Mattson once, I said, okay, ads will run for some viewers. I don't know why they would run an ad like why I'm doing this live. That doesn't make sense. I'm going to just skip the ad here. There we go. I don't know. That's the second time that's come up. So I don't want to take a commercial break. Now, if you watch this in a repeat, there'll probably be a couple commercial breaks in here as well. But I was going to Greg Mattson to the Quick Show, and there's a lot of people that don't like Greg. And I just tell people, I said, Greg, I'm the kind of guy that's going to defend you amongst people in the ex-Mormon and the progressive community. And I said, and I'm going to go defend John in the more faithful community. And people know I'm a very loyal person to my friends and to my homies. And I feel that, everybody, if they wish people could get to know each other and not just be everything is like this, and I just don't, it's counterproductive to what's going on in today's world. And I think, been doing this for 3 years now, a little over 3 years. I think we have established pretty clearly this brand that we have, if you will, that this is a unique spot. And yeah, do I give my opinions? Yes. Some people say, oh, how can you be neutral if you upset this group of people? And like one of my friends who used to work in military intelligence went to me and he's like, Steve, you are the perfect Switzerland, because during the Cold War, Switzerland ticked off both the United States and the USSR because the US didn't like the way they accommodated the Soviets and vice versa. So you have to understand that being the Switzerland of Mormonism doesn't mean that I'm just going to be some milquetoast middle of the road guy that isn't going to have opinions. No, I have a pretty strong views on things. And sometimes I typically go on other podcasts and share them. But being the Switzerland of Mormonism does not mean that I'm not going to have opinions and I'm not going to tell people what I think, because I will, whether it's on my platform or others, The other thing too is, please, if there's people out there, don't try to tell me who I can or can't have on my program. That just bothers me so much. I don't, because some people, or even podcasters, will tell me that. And I'm like, look, I'm not going to tell you how to program your show. I'm not going to tell you who you can or can't platform. And when I get people criticizing me on Reddit or whatever, you shouldn't have this person on, you shouldn't, platform that person. I'm like, that's stupid, because that person already has a platform. And so I don't know. I get so perturbed by that. So please, I'm always eager to hear recommendations for people to have on my show. I will always be there, but don't go to me and say you shouldn't talk to that person. Look, there are people that I would not have on my program that friends of mine have had on their programs. And I've even told them I probably wouldn't book that guest. However, I'm not going to tell you. And I even asked them, why would you book that guest? Right? I think that's a valid thing. And they tell me, I'm like, okay, that's how you operate your channel. I'm going to respect you. I have a different value that says, values, not to say mine are superior to theirs or not, but it says, I don't think I'm going to platform that person. There are some malevolent actors, some very evil people in this space who will never come on Mormon Book Reviews. I've got a list. It's a short list, but there's a handful of people that will never come on Mormon Book Reviews. And because I don't want to give them a platform, because I feel these are evil people that could do harm to people. So that's where I draw the line. Other than that, I just like to have the variety of the different expressions of Mormonism on the program. So just to kind of go back a little bit, my ear is ringing right now. Don't get me wrong. But again, it's amazing just having that 3-hour session. So basically between 2 hours at the doctor's office, or a little over under 2 hours, and about an hour and a half at that German restaurant last night, freaking was a revelation to me. Good, making sure it's still on. And that was a beautiful thing. It was wonderful to be able to feel like, oh, I got my life back again. When just yesterday I thought I'd lost everything. And I've been thinking about this for the last couple of weeks, like I cannot continue functioning. And I just want to thank everybody for their prayers, from all the different factions, or the good vibes, or the good thoughts, however you want to describe it. I want to thank all the Christians, evangelical Christians, the people of the Restoration, atheists, people of different religions who have told me that they're praying for me in their own way. That meant a lot to me. The comments people have given me on my videos, or the direct messages, I want to thank all of you for, in those dark times, literally thousands, hundreds, well, I would say hundreds of people, but representing probably thousands of people who will never reach out to me, but probably feel the same way. I want to thank you. I mean, there's a person who I was I've been dealing with some stuff over the last 6 months, and some PTSD from a little bit of trauma, that not PTSD, but trauma I was experiencing from when I was getting attacked specifically by Christian so-called evangelical apologists. And it was really, really weighing on me pretty hard. And also get criticized sometimes in the ex-Mormon Reddit, other groups, and they just attack. And then there's like Facebook people attack me, and just gets so old. And somebody commented that said, it was a woman. She said, I saw Steve last year at Sunstone. Presumably didn't say hi, because she didn't seem to indicate that she actually talked to me. She said, I saw Steve at Sunstone last year, and I realized, oh, he's a real person. She said, so often we see these people on our screens, and we just think of them as being like an entertainer or an influencer. We don't realize that they're human beings and they have feelings. And I think people, when they get behind the keyboard and they start attacking you as a public person, which I know comes with the territory, it's like they don't realize, like, I'm a human being. And in the same way, look, I'm suffering. I was suffering, but we were able to turn the corner on this thing. And I want to thank everybody for the kind, encouraging words. It just means so much to me. 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, I started this channel, didn't know a single Latter-day Saints. And just to think the impact that this channel has had on my life, and the impact this channel's had on other people's lives, the impact that it's had on the Mormon historian community, the impact that it's had on the Mormon podcast world. it's pretty amazing when you think about this little guy who lives literally with his mom in a 50-year-old mobile home in Florida, has a platform that I'm so grateful for. And I still have to pinch myself. Is this real? Did I die and am I in heaven? Because this is how it feels. So I want to read a few more comments here. Okay, so George says, "Hi, Stephen. I found your channel when you first interviewed Josh Gailey. He's with the Church of Jesus Christ, the Bigger Tonight group, and he's an evangelist in that church. His father's the president, and Josh is a very good friend with Josh Gailey, and have truly enjoyed many of your videos. Keep up the good work, brother. Thank you." Ray says, "Turn the corner. Excellent. Way to go, Steve." Thank you, Ray. I appreciate you. Yeah, feel like I got my life back. 24 hours ago, I started living again after a month and a half of living in hell. And, to be where I was at just not that long ago, just a day ago, and then to be where I'm at tonight, I'm just so grateful. I really am. It's not the first time I thought I lost everything or that my life was over. Matter of fact, the last time I thought my life was over was over the course of over a decade of severe depression. So this is relatively simple. This was only about a month or so of really contemplating my mortality, if you will, and how difficult this was. And there was this whole point to me, was like, God, why would you do this to me? Why would I have to cancel? I mean, I had it planned. I was going to go. Somebody was providing me the flight to be able to fly out to do the keynote address on the primetime keynote address at Rob Meldrum's conference. I was supposed to give that. I was supposed to be there. I was supposed to be in Independence, Missouri that Saturday to speak at the Book of Mormon rally along with David Boyce of 52 Churches. And then I was supposed to drive with David in his truck, and he was going to drop me off near Chicago, where I grew up, on his way back to Wisconsin. And I was going to hang out with my friends. I haven't been back home in 15 years. Those were the plans that I made. And of course, we all know God told me don't make any plans. So I made plans. So I think, and I was going to go home and I was going to eat all this great food, because Florida food, it's all chain restaurants. It's all garbage. Unless you like seafood, there's nothing here in Florida there's no good restaurants. There's no long history of like these generational family restaurants or ethnic restaurants that we have back home. So, and plus you can't get a good pizza anywhere here. So I was going to go to freaking Chicago and I was going to eat my way, and I was going to go visit all the different burger joints and pizza joints that I loved going to as a kid growing up, because I want to eat real food again. And I missed out on that. And, I do think that when God said, don't make any plans, there was a lot of stress. To me, it's a good stress, but I was at a really high level. And tinnitus can get worse with stress. So I think it was an accumulation of me pushing myself so hard. And it wasn't until the day before I was supposed to fly out to Utah last month that I finally was like, I can't do it. And I had to cancel. And so I feel encouraged now that I'll be able to get out to Cleveland for the Mormon History Association conference. It's going to be about podcasting Mormon history. I'm really excited and looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to getting out to Sunstone in July and umpiring the kickball game between being the umpire of the kickball team between the ex-Mormons team Outer Darkness and against the team Higher Law, which are the polygamists. We have a kickball game between those two groups every year, and this will be the third year that I will be the umpire for that. So I always look forward to that, because again, I'm the only neutral person, so who else can be the umpire, right? Let me see. Let me read a few more things. Helmuth said, "Hand in there, brother. I really appreciate your views." I think you may probably say stand in there, brother. Okay, thank you. Sherry says, "Thank the Lord for his tender mercies for you, Steve." Thank you, Sherry. Sandy Stone says, "You can get Haitian food. I served my LDS mission baking, That's a good one, Sandy. So as a matter of fact, there's one of the Mormon missionaries that has been to my house a couple times, and I've taken out for dinner. He speaks perfect Creole, Haitian Creole. That was what he learned at the MTC. So there's so many Haitian community. There's a large Haitian community here that they literally have like a Haitian missionary or guy who can speak Haitian, or like, is that right? Yeah, that he can speak French Creole, or whatever the language is, Haitian Creole. And so, yeah, so and as a matter of fact, one time I had him over for pizza, and I had him give the prayer, the prayer over the dinner in Haitian or in Creole, which was really cool. So yeah, I should find out where there's some good Haitian food around here. Good one, Sandy Stone. Um, you served in Boston, okay, Sandy. Okay, so Shannon Tracy um, gave us a donation for $4.99. Shannon's been on the channel a couple times, and he writes, I suffer with it as well. It came on to me as an effect of radiation treatment from cancer, 24/7 pain, all of my nerves. God got me through it, though. Yeah, that's awesome. I think I can hit a like on this. Let's do that. Can I like that? I don't know. Well, yeah, so there we go. So yeah, Shannon, thank you for the donation of $4.99. I'm glad to hear from you, my friend. I can start talking on the phone again with people, and so far today we've raised over $100, $104.99. Somebody donated on Venmo, and Shannon donated today on the super chat here on YouTube. Okay, I think I'm going to start wrapping this up. I'm going to stay here a minute. So if you're watching this live and you have any questions or comments, please feel free to bring them here. Also, tell me, what are you going to be doing for Memorial Day weekend? It's Memorial Day weekend. And also I wanted to say that, the last interview I did was 3 weeks ago. So when I taped it yesterday or tomorrow, and that was with David Boyce of 52 Churches in 52 Weeks. And David, that was the very first interview that David did for when he announced that he was going to be baptized in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I had the privilege of being the very first to interview him. And I imagine there are YouTubers that are 2, 3, 4 times bigger than me, probably like, how is it, or sometimes 10 times, how is it that he's able to get these people, right? Well, it's because you work hard and you build relationships and friendships with people. Well, Shannon Tracy just gave another donation for $1.99. So we are, oh my gosh, we're closing in $107 now. So that's great. Well, yeah, so hopefully you guys have a great Memorial Day weekend. I don't really have anything planned other than just my goal is to hang out with my homies this Monday night. That's typically when it's called Boys Night Out, is what we called it. And it's usually just me and a couple of my buds and a few other people that hang out on Monday nights. It's a lot of the regulars at this pizza joint. And this Andy Stone just donated $3. So thank you for Sandy Stone. Thank you very much for contributing in the chat today, both with your comments as well as for the $3 donation. So now we are closing in on $110 that we raised today. So I'm really grateful that we're able to do this. And I also, I wanted to look, 24 hours ago, I couldn't imagine I would be doing this right now. I'm so grateful to have my life back. You can't imagine how grateful you are. It's like when you are suffering severe pain, whether you are really, really sick, or you got a bad lower back pain and you're throughout your back and you can barely function. And it's like when you're going through it, your life is so miserable because everything you took for granted has been taken away from you. And you don't realize how hard it is when you're disabled or have something happen to you that causes you pain, grief, suffering. It's so hard. And so often people who suffer in loneliness. Because I'm kind of disappointed. There are some people in my life that didn't reach out to me while I've been suffering. And I was like, man, I'm a little disappointed in that. Now, some of them may have not known, but I know some others did. And for them not to reach out to me kind of hurt my feelings. So I kind of get the feeling like I know who my friends are, too. But I do want to thank everybody because again, and I was telling Yanni, who's the 100-year-old prophetess friend of mine, she's a missionary prophetess. She's 100 years old, still going, still lives by herself. Broke her hip 6 months ago and is walking. Okay, this woman she's gonna outlive us all. And she suffered depression for a lot of her life, and she had a really rough upbringing. She was a orphan. And her and I just talked today, and it's the first time I'd seen her in a few weeks, and she was so happy to see me. And we just talked about how when you've experienced suffering in your life, you have a lot more empathy for people, just in general. But then you have a lot of empathy for people who are suffering, and a lot of people don't even want to be around people that are suffering because it reminds them of their mortality. It's like, don't be so selfish. Be nice to people, be kind to people. Especially just, and again, even for some of the people that lately have really been ticking me off or like really irritating me and it's like, man, okay. I even have more empathy for them even too. Actually, one of my people who's been very critical of me actually sent me a direct message a few weeks ago, and I've been critical of him too. And he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm really sorry to hear what's happening to you." So I want to thank him. Maybe this will lead to us finally getting to have a conversation with each other. I think it's important that him and I get connected. I think he's a sincere person. There are some Christian apologists out there that I do question their faith in that I look at it and look for fruits, and I don't see any fruits. I do see some fruits in some, but I see no fruits in some others. And I actually kind of feel bad for people that are in that place where it's all about attack, make fun of, do memes and jokes about Mormons. And it's like nobody, or you're outside, protesting. Not everybody who's outside protesting, by the way, or outside general conference and temple dedications, they're not all bad actors. There's some sincere good people that I even personally know that do it. I'm not in favor of that, but not every single person who is a critic of Mormonism from the evangelical Christian perspective are toxic people. Okay, some of them are very good people, and I've publicly endorsed some of the leading critics of Mormonism on my channel as well. Not all of them are malevolent, but there are malevolent actors in that group too. But again, I feel bad for them because I can't imagine what kind of testimony they have of developing of faith, because there's no Latter-day Saint that's going to look at these Christian apologists and say, well, I know one thing, if I ever leave my church, I'm certainly not joining theirs. So it's just everything they do is counterproductive. So I'm going to read a few more comments here. Gayla says, I appreciate good health so much. It sucks to have illness. Don says, I love your content. As LDS, I will sometimes browse evangelicals online. Of course, you're my favorite. What's your take on Justin Peters? Seems nice, but not. I don't know. LOL. Okay, I think I know who Justin Peters is. I'm going to look him up real quick, too. Montana Mama 1 says, I'm so happy for this new finding. I also suffer to a lesser degree, but still, some situations are difficult. Love all your videos. Okay, let me look up Justin Peters. That name rings a bell. I can't place it. So J-U-S-T, right? Justin. Usually if I see the picture of the person, Justin Peters in Ministries. Oh yeah, I know who Justin Peters is. Yeah. This is him. That's him right there. I've watched some of his stuff on YouTube throughout the years. He's critical of some people that I'm also critical of. So I do feel that I don't think all Christian apologists are bad. I think there are some really bad ministries out there that are not are malevolent, and I do think that sometimes they do need to be called out. And Justin does call out some certain groups that I do think are not good. Unfortunately, I think he views things through such a fundamentalist prism that anybody that's outside of his prism, he can also become like a heresy hunter. And so he's the kind of guy that's also super hypercritical of people in the charismatic renewal movement, which is where my family came out of. Well, my family got into from the Reformed tradition. because I had a Dutch Reformed background that go back centuries on both sides of the family, and so I still have like a real strong Calvinist influence in my life. But I'm more charismatic, so I'm sensitive to these people. And what's often too is a lot of the people who hate charismatics or are super critical of charismatics are also super critical of Mormons. So I think that we kind of have that commonality with each other. Okay, just making sure I got everybody's talking here. Okay, so first of all, thank everybody so much for the donations. I know it's just kind of a last minute thing where I'm doing this, but I've had a pretty consistent amount of people watching, so I know that people are, oh my goodness. Okay, so this is cool. Shannon Tracy writes, I finally learned how to fix the right amount. Yours in Christ. He gave me $49.99. So my goodness, $160 we raised today. And Shannon, thank you. So you donated a total of $56. So thank you, Shannon. Again, wasn't planning on doing this. And let's talk soon, Shannon. I know you reached out a while ago, and I should get back in touch. I'm getting back in touch with people. And again, I just want to thank everybody for their love and their concerns. It's really been awesome. And I'm just going to try to start living life again. And I think really honestly, part of my therapy and part of helping is just doing the podcast. Oh, here, I just got another Tammy sent me $50 on Venmo. So I raised 150 on Venmo tonight. Wow. So thank you, Tammy, for the donation on Venmo. And again, if you want to donate to the channel, there's links in the description on both PayPal, Patreon, and Venmo. I do appreciate. I try to get back to everybody and thank them. Sometimes I even tracked down a name. Somebody donated me, and I didn't know who it was, and and I found his name. He was a dentist in Texas, so I called up his practice just to thank him for sending me a donation. And so I try to track down and reach out to people whenever they donate to the channel. And I want to thank you. So the best way to do it is do it when we're doing this, so that way you can get the shout out on from me live if you want. And some people don't want that. So I do appreciate it. So, okay, everybody have yourself a great Memorial Day weekend. I'm going to start living life again. Mormon Book Reviews is back. I don't know if I'll be doing 3 episodes a week like I was doing, or sometimes more than that. But we're going to get pretty back into consistent. We're going to start having some more guests on. And also want to let everybody know the Utah Interfaith Forum. We are going to be bringing that, start interviewing on that channel too. We've done about 6 episodes here, and there was going to do another ad. I don't know why they do that. Utah Interfaith Forum on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to that channel. Monica, my co-host Monica, and I have we've interviewed about half dozen people. I would have had already released some of those interviews by now if I wasn't sidelined by this condition. So look forward in the next couple of weeks. Finally, Utah Interfaith Forum will be going full blast, and you guys are going to love the conversations we've had. We had Catholics, and we've had evangelicals, and we've had rabbi, you name it. And so I think the Utah Interfaith Forum channel is another great place for us to have these conversations. So remember, this is the most important thing is this, folks. Remember, all the voices of the restoration will be heard here on Mormon Book Reviews.